I'm Will, and I started coming to Restoration in April of this year. I grew up in the church. I was a pastor's kid. My dad pastored at a very large church, and while that was fun at times and I got to do a lot of different things, it was also a bit intimidating, and I was very well known. People would often say things to me like, "You must just be the perfect kid because you have the perfect dad." And at first that was funny, and then I realized they were serious. And that led to a lot of sort of pressure to perform or pressure to be perfect. And I was an 8-year-old. I was not perfect. I knew the ways in which I wasn't perfect. And at the time, didn't think much about that. Looking back, that kind of started faith in the wrong place, right? Because church and God became much more about knowing the right things, saying the right things, and doing the right things than it did about actually having a relationship. That continued all the way until I left for college, went to a private Christian college. Faith continued there, chapel 3 times a week, all the good stuff. After moving home, kind of had like a mini nervous breakdown. I was doing 19 units, had to drop units and step down from a chapel team that I was on and really kind of focus in. Started going to therapy, which is incredible. If you haven't been, highly recommend. And came to realize several things through therapy, the largest one being that I'm queer, I'm bisexual. And that kind of explains why I've always been so different and why I experience the world differently and see the world differently than a lot of other people that I was connected to. Fast forward about a year, ended up going back to college, ended up taking the stance that it was okay for me to be queer, but I needed to be celibate or marry a woman, or I needed to have, a traditional heteronormative marriage or be celibate for the rest of my life. And that never sat right with me, but I also couldn't reconcile a God that believed anything else or a church that believed anything else. Graduated, moved back home with my parents, didn't go to church at this time. I felt like that was too loaded of a gun to go back to the place that I grew up. And it also felt just scary in general to try to step into a space that was religious, that was faith-based, while I was still trying to work out what I believed. I had several queer friends at the time leave the church altogether. I knew God was a real person and he was important to me, and I didn't want to do that. But I really didn't see a space or believe that there was a space where I could just be and be in process. Fast forward to earlier this year, kind of had decided, no, I think I am affirming. I think God does love queer people, just as they are, not with the expectation of change, right? But just as they are. I also, started wanting to look for a church. Didn't want something that was particularly loud and proud per se, right? I'm a queer person, yes, but I'm not just queer, I'm many things. And when it's in the room, it is, and when it isn't, it isn't. So I wanted somewhere that was welcoming, but I wasn't going to be tokenized. And I really didn't think that existed, at least not in Southern California. So I went to many churches and ended up coming to Restoration as the second to last stop on the tour. And right away, I just felt so not only welcome, but normal. I think, at least in my experience, you are acutely aware when you're queer of just how different you are than everybody else. And at times that's wonderful and fun even, or beautiful. But then there are also moments, I think, when you just want to feel normal or you just want to fit in. And even from the first Sunday, Restoration has been a place where I've just been able to be fully myself and feel like that's not only welcome, but wanted. That not just corporately, but also in the congregation and the staff, that I'm allowed to be who I am fully, and I am loved fully for who I am, irrespective of the decisions that I make, irrespective of the choices that I choose, right? Or the things that I believe, that God loves me outside of those things, and God's love is bigger than those things. And this church made that real for me. The people at this church, from Julie at First Connections to Kurt and Katie and Michael, to several of the people that I sit with every Sunday that I met at Welcome to Church brunch, that just continue to remind me that God loves me and loves me just as I am.